Hi guys and girls, another video here. This one is about sequences from recursive functions or recursive definitions. It sounds an awful lot worse than it is. It's basically kind of like a term-to-term rule written with some algebra, with some subscripts and things like that. So you might see there's one of two ways they can write it. Now the typical ones are going to be U's. You can see underneath in these questions down here they've all got U's. So U n is, I don't know, it might be 2U n minus 1 plus 1, something like that. Or they could write it as U n plus 1 is equal to 2U n plus 1. They are exactly the same thing. Alright. What this one over here is saying is to get, say, the 8th term of a sequence, you would have to do 2 times the 7th term and then add 1. Over here again, if it's the 8th term, so n plus 1 is 8, which means that n would have been 7, so 2 times the 7th plus 1. They mean the same thing, just written slightly differently, and it doesn't matter which one you use. Yeah, it's just a term-to-term rule. So wherever you see the un or the un minus 1, you're just substituting in the previous term. So if I was to zoom in on these, so this, for each of the following, find U2, U3 and U4. So U2 means the second term, U3 means the third term, and U4 means fourth term. Some exams and some websites will write it as T2, T3 and T4. It doesn't matter whether it's U's or T's, the concept is the same. So this function here is saying to get the next term, so that means the next term, I would do 10 times the previous term. So in other words, to get U2, I would have to do 10 times. Now, if n is worth 2, n minus 1 is going to be worth 1. So U1. U1 is worth 4, so that means that's going to be 40. To get U3, I would have to do 10 times. Now n was worth 3, so n minus 1 is going to be U2. So 10 times 40 is 400. And then similarly U4 would be 10 times U3, which would be 4,000. Right, so for each of the find U2s, U3s and U4s, your answers would be U2 is worth 40, U3 is worth 400, and U4 is worth 4,000. The next one now, B. Right, this part here means you're going to multiply the previous term by 5, and then you're going to add 3. So, to get the second term, multiply the previous term by 5, then add 3. So that's going to give me 10 add 3 is 13. Next one, so U3. So you're going to do multiply the previous term by 5, then add 3. So 13 times 5, or 5 times 13, however which way you like, is going to be 65, and then add the extra 3 is 68. And U4 is going to be 5 times 68, and then add another 3, so that's going to be 340, and then add 3 is 343. The reason they're called recursive is you kind of think of it as you put a number into this recursive definition, you get a number out, that then goes round to the beginning, and you go round in a loop. So it's a recurring calculation that you do. That's why it's called recursive. So the next one, so we are going to half it and then minus 2. So half of 6 is 3, take away 2 is 1. Next one would be half it is 0.5, take away 2, it's going to be negative 1.5. Half of that is negative 0.5, and then take away, no it's not, it's negative 0.75, and then take away 2 is negative 2.75. And I don't know why I've written 2, which I do, because I think we're halving it. Next one, so they've changed their notice. They've changed their notation, that's the word I'm looking for, but again it still means the same thing. So this one means I'm going to multiply by 4 and then add 7. So u2, so 1 times 4 is 4, add 7 is 11. And u3 would be 11 times 4 is 44, then add 7 is 51. Then u4 would be 51 times 4, which is 204, and then add 7, so 211. As you can see, they're fairly straightforward. Okay, we've got a squared going on here, so it's un squared, so previous term squared, take away 2 lots of the previous term. So I'm going to write this one out a bit more fully. So square the previous term, take away 2 of the previous term. So that's 1 squared minus 2. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. The next one would be minus 1 squared, take away 2 lots of minus 1. Well, minus 1 squared is positive 1. I'm going to get a minus, so a plus 2. So that's going to give me 3. u4 is going to be 3 squared minus 2 lots of 3. So it's 9 minus 6, that's 3. And we're actually going to get a 3 every time now. Once it repeats itself once, it can't do anything but, because you're constantly subbing in 3 every time. So you're going to get 3 out every time. And the last one, a bit more complicated one. Again, I'm going to write it out more fully. So u2 is 2 minus 4 over the previous term, which is 4. So 4 over 4 is 1. And 2 minus 1 is 1. u3 is 2 minus 4 over 1. So 2 minus 4 is minus 2. And then u4, 2 minus 4 over minus 2. So the minus and the minus are going to become a plus. And 4 over 2 is 2, so 2 plus 2, which is 4. There you go. It's basically substituting into a formula every time. You just use the answer you got to the previous calculation as your new substitution. Yeah, well done. Bye.